My dream for ITG is to become a multinational IT consulting firm, delivering value to its customers through the use of emerging technologies.
The reality is we live in a world that is very dynamic, that's very demanding, and what we need to provide is ways for our customers to be able to adapt to these changes, to be able to provide better services. And that was the whole trigger of doing what we do.
The dream for ITG is to become a regional company, and that region is the Southeast Asian region.
So for ITG Malaysia, we're expecting to grow our team bigger. So we are expecting to venture together with all the regions and with our client as well. So we grow with our client and we co-create together.
Singapore being a multi-racial country, we have Indians, we have Malay, we have Chinese, we have Caucasian. I have a big responsibility to help ITG Singapore to grow bigger, and I hope to ensure that the task given to me to help ITG Group to grow even bigger.
Indonesia is the largest country in ASEAN and one of the fastest growing economy. That is why having the right technology to help Indonesia to leap forward is essential. We wanted to contribute and participate in positive impacts in Indonesia's growth and future.
At the heart of ITG's business are its customers.
And when we talk about people, it's the customers of our customers. And it's really up to us to be able to provide them with the right solutions and the right services so that they can help people. So at the end of the day, the heart of what we do is impacting the lives of people.
Venture Together is a call for the employees to work with the intention of co-creating solutions.
We live in a very interconnected world, and it's not anymore that you're the client and I'm the service provider. You have your role and I have mine, and we'll stick to that.
By adding together, it emphasizes that the journey is not a separate attempt, but it is to get everyone on board and co-create values.
It's only with working together, venturing together, can we really achieve what we set out to achieve.
To work alongside together so that its employees, its top management, its customers would be able to maximize the use of technology and support their growth.
Venture together.
一起前进。
Mari kita.
Let's venture together.
Let's venture together.
Good morning, everyone. It is great to have you all here. We welcome you to the mini conference Supercharge PostgreSQL, powered to digitally optimize your database roadmap, hosted by ITG and in partnership with Enterprise DB. So before we start, I would like to share some guidelines for a seamless webinar experience. May we request everyone to mute your mics to ensure that there will be no interruptions during the webinar session. Please change your Zoom name into your full name or real name for attendance checking purposes and to be included in our minor and major raffle at the end of this webinar. Feel free to ask relevant questions addressed to any of our speakers. You can maximize the chat box and our speakers will address your questions in the Q&A portion every after the session. Your feedback is valuable to us. Please answer the survey form that we will be flashed during the webinar. Check out the QR code on your screens that you can scan, or you can click on the link in the Zoom chat box. As a token for answering the survey, we will be giving an online voucher. For today's webinar, we will be exploring how you can enhance your database administrator's productivity through prioritizing workloads such as analytics over batch processing without the risk of downtime. Sit tight because we will be having 3 powerful sessions with informative demos that will surely help you advance your database skills. To formally start in today's mini conference, Andre Kusuma, the Managing Director of IT Group Indonesia, will welcome us. Andre leads a team of technology consultants and trusted commercial advisors by helping companies to improve their business operations by providing cost-effective solutions. Andre?
Hi, good morning. I hope you guys can hear me and can see me. Uh, Wearing the mask at the office nowadays, we all here together. Well, hello and welcome to our ITG and EDB webinar. Firstly, I would like to thank you for joining with ITG and Enterprise TV for this webinar. I hope everybody is safe, healthy at their home or maybe office. And I would also like to extend our thanks to the medical team, the frontliners, uh, and also to the online teachers whose patience I'm really impressed with. I know you guys with kids will understand what I'm talking about. And all of us, especially that we're here and we tried out our best to survive, to fight, and to adapt during the whole pandemic thing. My name is Andre Kusuma. I'm the ITG Indonesia Managing Director and ITG Group Regional CTO for Infra, Database, and DevOps. Together with Ryan Ching as the Regional Technology Manager, our role is to help customers to gain benefits for the right solutions. We've been in this situation since months ago, and while there are a lot of news around, it seems that this is more of a marathon than merely a sprint. However, top performing enterprises would know that disruption is not the exception of the rule. It is the rule. You have to be able to adapt. Having a long game plan and being ready to adapt is the key. Agility has never been more important, and having a cost-effective and flexible building block will really help. PostgreSQL is one of the building blocks that has been used globally, and one of the proven database that can handle various kind of workloads. With this webinar, we wanted to show you how to supercharge your PostgreSQL adoption in the enterprise environment through Enterprise DB PostgreSQL. So the life cycle from assessing, planning, implementing, daily operation to update or upgrade cycle, that's what our main topic today. So we hope that the webinar will be beneficial for the audience and to help provide the glimpse on how enterprise PostgreSQL can serve strategically as one of your enterprise building blocks. Well, feel free to ask any questions, and we would really appreciate an honest feedback and suggestion for future topics that we might be able to bring and to help your company to be able to adapt to this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. So I know you are all excited to discover and learn more in today's mini conference. But first, we would like to take you to a walkthrough of Enterprise DB. There is no one better to introduce this but this person. He is responsible for the development and growth of channel sales through and with partners for Enterprise DB across the Asia Pacific and Japan. He has worked extensively with key global consulting system integration and Tier 1 and 2 across the Asia Pacific and Japan region, and has co-developed strategy and execution of sales and marketing initiatives focused on the development of the partners' capabilities, capacity, and the coverage that drive mutual business growth. Let us welcome the Director, Channels and Alliance, Asia Pacific and Japan Enterprise DB, Mr. Vivek Kumar.
Thanks, Parna. Much appreciated. Can everyone hear me okay? I'm thinking so. So again, this is Vivek Kumar. I look after the channels and alliances for the Asia Pacific and Japan regions with Enterprise DB. I'm looking again just to open up a very powerful day that Berna and team, Andre and ITG, who we definitely have been venturing together with for 5 or almost 6-7 years in solving tough customer problems. And if we can move to the next slide, please. So again, I'm based in Singapore. My team also is here, who are also based in Singapore. And I'll go through just a high level, just to make sure that you're familiarized with the enterprise DB and the tough problems we solve, especially becoming more relevant in the COVID days. So hopefully everyone's doing well, your families are well. And the next 10 minutes, I'll just give you a brief overview. If you can move to the next slide, please. So who we are, real quick. Next slide, please. So EDB, and short form for Enterprise DB. Enterprise DB was founded in 2004, again, to provide solutions around an open source database solution that existed almost 40 years ago. We'll go through that. We are trusted by a huge customer base across many verticals, many countries, of almost over 4,000 or 5,000 such customers. We have 400 plus employees spread across the globe. We also made a new acquisition in the form of Second Quadrant, which makes us the most powerful Postgres SQL provider in the world. And again, that's what we do. We are fanatics. If you can move to the next slide, please. Thank you so much. So I think as you're all mostly familiar with databases, that I see and recognize a lot of names across Southeast Asian companies and enterprises. Postgres was started almost 40 plus years ago, and in 2004 is when Enterprise DB was founded to pretty much catapult and expand the power and influence of open source databases in the form of Postgres SQL. And this continued with more and more enhancements to our portfolio, which I'll go through later. And 15 years later, the company has been doing really well in supporting, as we talked about, over 5,000 customers globally. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So what we do, again, it's all about workloads. Today's IT environment, again, as we grow and, in COVID times and going forward, there'll be a lot of applications that run on cloud, on-prem, in hybrid environments, and, more different business and technologies to change the world and how we saw it, a few years from now, we'll call it, Vision 2020 or rear view. That'll all change, but the fundamentals still stay the same, right? There's three major components when it comes to data. One is to be able to maintain systems of record. The second would be to be able to analyze that data, which is the systems of record. And then once the analysis is done, what different options can we do, and then how can we change our customers or users' experience, whoever's using the databases, without even knowing that. So the drivers today are, one, there's new apps being developed in the new digital era, if you will. I wouldn't call it new anymore. It's just business as usual. But as we transform into truly, purely digital functions, as COVID has just pretty much fast-tracked that whole progression. We also have to move into replatforming our containers and cloud. And that's, again, the new norm. And that all requires moving away from traditional database providers, like Oracle, Microsoft, and, moving into more open source, because it gives you more control and more agility that you need from your IT infrastructure, and then more predominantly databases, which are the foundation of any IT operation. Next slide, please. So again, while we all know that data just won't sit anywhere in the air, so we have 4 different options, which we'll also cover later on how Enterprise DB fits in. But there's pretty much 4 different options, and not limited to. One is infrastructure as a service, so public cloud, where we also do database as a service through other service providers or directly. We have private clouds, which again reside in data centers, which could be your own, or given out to another public cloud provider such as Amazon or IBM or Google. And then again, with the advent of containers, which could reside both in private and public cloud or hybrid cloud environments, that also creates an opportunity for you to have the flexibility on hosting and putting your data securely in uh, a platform of your choice. Next slide, please. And that also makes sure that the same database everywhere is used. So again, I think the key question would be why EDB Postgres? There's so many other options out there, and because again, it's open source, it's an open world. Why would you want to go with EDB Postgres? Next slide, please. So EDB, number one, most important for you, you need to have the confidence and satisfaction. You're going with the market leader. And so Enterprise DB or EDB, as we call it, is the undisputed leader when it comes to Postgres SQL. Again, we're up there with the leading solution providers when it comes to databases or cloud for that matter, because cloud is again the way forward, whether it's multi-cloud, hybrid cloud. There's definitely a lot of value that comes in from cloud, but you also want to make sure it contains costs. And that is exactly the value that Enterprise DB provides, because it's open source. You have the control, you have the flexibility and agility that a lot of proprietary vendors that lock you in may not have. And again, that's the value proposition that we have. And therefore, even Gartner has had us for 6-7+ years now in a row as the challenger for all these known names in the marketplace. Next slide, please. So again, as I had mentioned, there's 5,000+ customers globally. And again, these are big names you would recognize. They're not only in the US or Americas. You would recognize them being within our region as well. A lot of them where we have cut across different verticals, primarily where we help a lot of banks. You'll see recognize a lot of banks here. We also help interestingly IBM and their DB2 solutions. IBM is also a large customer of ours. A lot of telcos, Telefonica, Vonage, etc. They're there. Even Oracle uses that, uses us. So that's a huge indictment that we have, and recognition that these customers, and then going back to again the world's most secure organizations such as the U.S. Air Force and a lot of defense, Department of Defenses across the globe also use us, because I think security is another key value that we bring in these very interesting times. Next slide, please. So while we have a huge list across the globe, we have our market, lion's share in Southeast Asia, and you'll see a lot of names, whether it's Maxis or Exiata or M1, Rakuten, Octopus, Japan Airlines. So again, just getting into Japan, Australia, we're hugely successful. Again, given, in government, we support Services Australia, the Meteorology Department, the Indian Navy, Telecom Malaysia, NTT. So there's SoftBank, and the list goes on. They're not limited to this, but again, I think, Bank Mandiri, State Bank of India, which is the world's largest bank, OCBC. So they're all names you'd recognize. So, there's that inherent trust that they have in partners like ITG and, the ecosystem that ITG, when we actually venture ahead, we actually mean that, and we actually go all the way to supporting our customers and making sure that they get value out of this, and obviously peace of mind when it comes to their data and databases. Next slide, please. So what does that mean from a stability standpoint? Again, you want to make sure that your database provider or solution provider, whichever solution you get, has been around. It's not one trick pony and just shows up a year or 2 years earlier and then may not be there next year. So what this shows is Enterprise DB has had very solid financial metrics and measurements. So for over 15 years, which is equivalent to 43 quarters now of consistent growth. And we measure, how we go to market and work with our customers, because at the end of the day, it is solving those tough customer problems that makes us hugely successful, as I had mentioned earlier. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So how do we do that? So again, without going and taking too much out of these at a high level, again, we are a database provider, so we give two options primarily. Again, the Postgres SQL in more of a general consumption model, and then we have the advanced version where you get many features that start getting you to realize the differentiation between using Enterprise DB versus just using the versions that are out there. In addition to, once you get the advanced server, you obviously can use our tools, which are hugely valuable in terms of when you are trying to manage your databases, and make them seamless and consistent in terms of their user interface. It also helps with migration from large other proprietary database providers such as Oracle, and integration efforts, right? Because there's data which goes on multiple platforms, multiple forms. So that integration would be very important in how you deploy and use this effectively for PostgreSQL. These deployments can happen pretty much in many other ways. If you can go back to the last slide, please. Can happen in 4 different options. One, bare metal virtualization, again, VMs, clouds and containers. And then what we also do to make sure that you have full assurance that we're there with you throughout the journey. Again, we provide the services and support that back our partners up, such as ITG. That's 24/7 by 365, follow the sun model. In conjunction with ITG, we provide professional services, and we make sure that they're localized. And therefore, as you heard Andre before, and then the leaders Chris and Vijay talking about the different offices locally that you have in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines, that provide you the in-person as best as we can. And nowadays and going forward, the different services that we can to offer you that peace of mind. Lastly, we also offer training that obviously gets your staff or yourselves in some cases up to speed with how to make the most out of leveraging Enterprise DB as your database option. Next slide, please. So it's cost effective. I think the biggest thing right now, and has been forever, but even more so with 2020 and COVID-19, cost has become a key driver in making sure that open source has obviously been a key part. Whether we look at Red Hat as it's also one of our big go-to-market partners, or the recent acquisitions in the spaces with with Microsoft and Google and other companies. It further ensures and exemplifies the importance of open source and the power it gives to the users and database providers, specifically in the database community. It's commoditized, so every cloud can use it. It has the versatility and agility that I talked about earlier, which is very suitable for replacing expensive and proprietary databases, and it has the completeness that allows you to use diverse workloads, especially in the fast-changing world where apps are changing by the minute, and user interfaces and requirements are changing pretty much every second. That needs to be managed across diverse workloads. Next slide, please. So I think the key part of all of this, again, as I mentioned, the power of open source itself is there's no lock-in. So you can use it as much as you want. And if you want to move up notches and tighten up your security or do large migrations and get more out of your open source Postgres SQL deployments, we'll be there all the way with you, right? And again, we have partners, very capable partners like ITG, who will support you in your endeavor and your journey towards digital transformation. So with that, again, I wanted to just put a close. I know you have a long few or very intense next couple of hours with the ITG team, again, powering your day with the importance and how we can do different solutions across Postgres SQL. So have a great day ahead and stay safe. Thank you so much. And I think the team will share going forward our contact details. Again, for us, I think the key thing is Postgres is the answer to walking you through your journey and venturing along with ITG. So with pretty much mitigating all your risk as best as possible. So I thank you again for your time and attention, and wish you the very best, and please stay safe, and talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vivek. That is a great way to start our mini conference. So as Benjamin Franklin said, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. In a time of uncertainty, one of the greatest weapons we have is planning. This is why we will jumpstart our mini conference with power planning. So for this session, our speaker is responsible for providing solutions for government and enterprise in our ITG Indonesia headquarters. He has over 20 years of experience in IT consulting. He is currently focusing on enterprise-scale business solutions in the last 7 years, including end-to-end solutions, base platforms, and system integration. Let us welcome the head of enterprise solution at IT Group Indonesia, Mr. Fivda Hari.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, my name is Fivda. Let me share my screen first. Okay. All right, can you see my screen? Okay, I assume you can see my screen. Right. So we'll be talking about power planning, not power planting, because we will not be talking about electricity. We'll be talking about the enterprise class database implementation plan. As mentioned by Vivek before, enterprise class database without the EDB is enterprise class database without size limitation. As you know, the other brand here is also comparable, is Oracle. So if you look at this table, this database is created to give you maximum performance without limitations in the database size. Also number of rows. Oh, okay. Can you hear me clear now? Okay, right. So the number of rows and number of index per table, those are unlimited. The aim for this database, actually, like Vivek said, we can save up until 42%. Later on, I'll show that in some cases you can save up more. Right. So since it has deep compatibilities with Oracle, some of our companies already invested in the people, the OCP, the OCA people, right? You don't have to drastically change their knowledge, because EDB is the compatibility, the features and everything is pretty much the same as Oracle. So it saves you the learning curve time, learning cost for your DBA and developers. EDB provides comprehensive migration tools that you can do yourself, tools that guarantee your confidentiality will be kept safe, and you have experienced professionals who are capable to help you through this, including us, IT Group here, although it has been made easy for you with all the tools and everything. Will help you assess at any time you want. You have community supports for Postgres, so the knowledge is widely available. But what really matters is you'll have the professional support 24/7 with SLAs. This will give you assurance that your business is using this database will have the best performance. Any risks or issues is handled in good hands. So why migrate? Why migrate to EDB exactly? So this EDB has a better new technology now, comparable. If you see the previous slides by Vivek, you see the journeys. Now it has gone pretty far. Amongst them are going to cloud platform, and it provides you easy assessment. So it's part of avoiding the vendor lock-in. And these assessment tools are ready and even free to use for you. Uh, it has been proven by us, by EDBs, by companies around the world that to migrate to EDB is successful. So I will show you some example later. So as a no vendor lock-in, additional to the one Vivek said, if you implement this solution as IaaS or infrastructure as a service, which is also available in cloud, you can move between the clouds. You are not locked to one cloud vendors. For example, between AWS to Azure to your Google or even to on-premise. So not just the technology itself, the no vendor lock-in, but also for the platform on top of it. And so these tools is also easy to integrate with your current database. We have experience of synchronizing between other databases. Here you will see Oracle, MySQL, Microsoft SQL. So you can synchronize from EDB to those database or as well as from EDB to those database. That's just emphasizing that you'll have no vendor locking. Okay. So because of its features, its reliable support, or its value for money, now you want to migrate to EDB. So what do you do before you migrate? Normally, you should have thought of these activities. You should know your data because you need to have justifications whether it is successful migrations or not, that all the database are functioning as it should be, and all the data is the same between the previous and after. So normally we do an audit here and then we do cleanup. You don't want to take your garbage data to the new database as it will consume your disk. It is also considerable as a cost. And how will you maintain and protect the database? This is already actually related to the next point here, the governance. As we know, the data quality is also degrading by time. And also it needs to be controlled. You need to have your new database and data always in top shape and secure. Just think about this. We don't want additional problems. That's why we moved to EDB. EDB provides you help in the maintenance. It has features for securities. It has tools for you to maintain your data, not just the database, also data. And at the end of these sessions, we will show you how easy you can maintain your data in database using Postgres Enterprise Manager. It's a beautiful tool that gives you great visibilities. So please stay until the end. So EDB takes your hectic migration planning by providing those tools. It will also analyze your database schema, your current one, or your Oracle, or other databases, and then you can review the features used by the Oracle clients, and then it'll have automatic fixes. So when you migrate, some of the syntaxes will be altered to EDB. So, and it also has recommendations, and it gives you scoring. So far, what we experienced, the compatibility scoring is above 95 or 93%. So it gives you confidence. What I was talking about the migration portal here. Migration portal now is available for migrating from Oracle to EDB. Okay, this tool I was talking about is a web-based. You can access it from anywhere. So easy. You can have the result of your assessment in less than 5 minutes. It's practically migrates everything, your users, your roles, partitions, DB links, schemas, materialized views, trigger procedures. You mention it. It'll produce the file PDF. You can print it, so you can share during your planning and assessment with your colleagues or superiors. Gives you just justifications. Okay, and the other tools is migration toolkit. So other than the migration portal, you have migration toolkit. It will also assess not only for Oracle, also for other databases such as MSSQL, MySQL. This tool is the actual tool you will use for actual migrations. This kit will migrate your database structures and also your data. It can be run automatically or it can be run offline. What I mean by offline is no internet connections. Okay. So without further ado, let's see the demo, how you can do assessment yourself. So after these sessions, or after this event, you can try it. But should you have any further questions, we will be here for you to help you. Right, let me change my screen first to the demos here. Okay, this is the screen. So actually right, that's the address if you want to remember, migration.enterprisedb.com. You can try it after the sessions, or maybe try it now with me. You can try it together. So basically, first you have to have an EDB account. To create this account, like it says here, it takes less than 60 seconds. Just need to create your account. And here I already have my account ready, my login and password to save the time. So I'm signing in to this migration toolkit here, migration portal actually. Yep. Yep, 30 to 34 days. Okay, so we see here, it's pretty simple, nothing fancy, but it shows that you can migrate, you can plan for migrations from not just one database. You can add more projects here on the left side, and you have your quick help on the right side, and your current selected migration project on the middle. Let's just start this. Okay. EDB, I just name my new project is migrations, EDB migrations. And currently I'm using JDBC connections to my Oracle. I can use 11G or 12C. Okay, even if you have 18C still works, or 19. And I supposed to upload the DDL file here. How do I get the DDL file? I just download it from here. Okay, there my screen is, it's downloading. Okay, let's go back. Right, after I download that file, I just need to run it against my Oracle database. Okay. Right. Because I'm using Windows here, my Oracle is also on top of database on top of Windows. I can see the downloaded file, the EDB, DDL extractor.sql here. I just run the SQL plus for a quick, okay. Right. Actually, in EDB, we also have similar tools to SQL plus, but we'll talk about that later. So I just need to run this a EDB DDL extractor. MySQL Swifta. As you can see, it runs here extracting your synonyms, your database links, type of body, sequence, tables, and more are coming. Yep. And this is today's date. So it will generate the file based on the date. And that file that we will upload in the migration portal. As simple as that. Okay. Right, seems like my Oracle database has something. Right. Package one. Yeah.
Fivda?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Is this version, is this feature also available on community version?
Yes, it is also available on community version.
Okay.
So my Oracle here is version. Oh, okay. The database that I'm migrating here from Oracle 18C. Okay. It should be finishing up. I don't know why it takes some time here. Oh, seems like my computer just went. All right. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Oh, hold on. I will move to. I'll try to this. Right. Okay. Right. Let's extract. This takes. Okay. Okay. So you can see the last part here at 1406 with the C paradigm. I have the expected file, and I'm going to switch again to my screen where I can upload it. Yep. Now this is the file that I should upload it. This is the latest file that I just created, and then create and assess. It'll assess for you automatically, and it says here it has 3 failed, 17 repaired, 0 passed. So there are 3 failed. As I mentioned, there are 3 constraints, which is a garbage constraint that we should remove. So you can see this, okay. And basically what I wanted to show here, you can do this assessment yourself, even after this session, so after this event. Okay, and I want that in report in PDF. Just generate it. There, I have the PDF file. Okay, so, yeah. So let's have a look. What do we have? This is from the previous migrations. So we just migrated 10 constraints, 18 indexes, procedures, sequences, tables, and it also explains to you for each one of this what did EDB2 do to change your codes to be compatible with EDB. Right, I can generate the PDF file here, and that's it. Right, that's it. And then let's go back to the presentations. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. So it's very easy, not even 5 minutes. I just had some hiccups there, but not because of the EDB, it's because of the database I'm extracting from. I have the demo done here, and then after you assess it, right? Now let's see the architecture, the components. Now we're looking at what to be considered in architecture, which is high availability. EDB supports high availability. Enterprise class database must have high availability features. So the HA keeps your database performance always good. It will eliminate the single point of failure. It will help you achieve your 99 or 99.99% SLA. And HA is also an option for you to handle the high performance request. For example, HA helps you provide another database, a secondary database for your OLAP, where you can execute your reports or with complex queries, as complex queries will consume a lot of resource. Also, it provides connection pooling. As you know, numbers of connections contribute some loads, and this will reduce the number of connections. Still about the HA, EDB supports failover for your business continuity. EDB database in cluster continuously monitor your system health. For the load balancer, it is also available in the EDB. It enhances your F5 load balancer. Your failover is done automatically here. Once the database is down, you have the secondary database backing up. It will be done and it will be replaced automatically. It will not have split brain. What does it mean? Let's see next slides. Also later on in the second session, I think GP will, my colleague here will also explain the split brain. So this is the basic architecture for HA. This is made for easy explanation actually. It has three main components: the master, the secondary, and the witness. Right. The primary is the master, the standby secondary, and then the witness, which is an optional. And on top of that, you have your load balancer and connection spooling. Right. I hope that explains pretty quick. Okay, the other things, it also supports backup and recovery. It supports centralized for multi-databases that supports your retention policies, and it can store and recover database at any point of time, which means if your last recovery point of time is not valid, you can always move several steps back. Now that we know that what EDB has, we are ready for planning the architecture. I'll share you the possibilities of architecture you can plan, but deeper how the architecture will work will be demoed in the next session. So in this example, we are looking at the architecture of combined high availability and your backup and recovery. So on the left side here, you have your HAs, your real database, the replica, and the witness, as previously shown. And all is accessing through one virtual IP here. And you will have your backup and recovery. This is on one side. And all of it, you can monitor it through the PEM client here. You can monitor not just your running database, but also for all databases which is connected to it. Right. This is an example of how we implement the HA architecture with the basic backup and recovery. So you have on the left side, we have the DC data center, and on the right side, the DRC, data recovery center. On the DC, you can have your, because of there is no problems with the network, you can have your main database synchronized to the second database. And then you can also have your asynchronized database on the same side. And you will have your asynchronized to your DRC. And each side, you have your backup. This is quite simple, quite easy to implement. And then another way is we want to save, we want to maximize your resource. So we do multi-database, multiple instances. It looks like more complex, but actually you don't have to worry. You have PEM to monitor this. It is still high availability, but more efficient in terms of resource. So you have your read-write database in one machine, and another database has another read-write. You look at the bottom right, left, bottom left. Sorry. So all of these applications are going through the load balancer and also through the connection spooling. Next, for further architecture, It says here, future-proof going cloud container. Why do we say this future-proof? Because EDB supports cloud technology, which is containerization, the future of most of applications now. Right. Why do we want the EDB or your database in container? Because we want to harness the benefit of cloud technology, which are the load balancing, the high availability, and also easy to scale features. We'll also see this in demo later. So this is how it's simply gonna look like. You have all your database, DB masters, applications, right? With replicas, several replicas, either it's on-premise as Kubernetes or on top of OpenShift or on cloud. So it's been done, and it should have shared a local storage here. It's been done. Several applications out there already using this architecture. Maybe this will also one of the considerations if you're moving to cloud containers. Okay, let's have a look at the example. This is a example of successful migrations to DB from another enterprise scale database. This is Korean Telecom. The challenges here, they need to reduce the database cost with high performance database, of course, with the high availability, as it can improve their customer experience. The solution is, obviously, we implement EDB. It tested against 130 high performance mission critical systems, and we'll do an on-site training and consultations. And the benefits, not just 42% cost reduced, but also until up to 80%. This is also because of all tools included in one subscriptions. A lot of IoTs are also supporting Postgres in this, because for telecommunication technology, example for your CDR, call data record tools, they are also supporting EDB Postgres SQL now. So what do they implement it? They implemented enterprise EDB, EDB standard, consultations, and support. Okay, another example is from Ericsson. We know this brand is quite big, but in this case, it's not moving from another enterprise scale database. In this case, the database is growing very fast. Ericsson has a CMS, content management system, that need to increase the performance of its databases. They have increasing capacities because of the large files, number of transactions. So the solution is to migrate to EPAS or EDB Postgres Advanced Server for the scalability and better performance. And the new systems deployed 11 million titles, 3 million work orders, right? And the benefit it gains as expected, the performance is increased from 5 to 11 ingestion rate. Also, they get the database compatibilities, migrations, ease of migrations, and the product implemented here is the enterprise DB, the enterprise one, and then the developer one. Okay, I think that concludes my sessions about how we plan and how we see the architecture. We're going to the question and answers.
Okay, thank you for that insightful session, Fivda. So I'm sure that some of you have pressing questions right now. So let's address a few of the questions that we have received as of the moment. So I have two questions from Ahmad Mahmoud. So the first question would be, what pros and cons if we are using a database on container, especially about performance and high availability? I repeat, what pros and cons if we are using a database on container, especially about performance and high availability?
Right. Let's talk about the pros first. Okay. As I mentioned before, if we have a database on containers, you harness the technology from the cloud technology, from the containers technology. So you can scale it up. You can have your high availability automatically provided by the container based. And what is the cons? Right, the cons here, of course, you will have to set up your container platform first, right? That's another effort that currently in today's world, setting up your Docker OpenShift, it's not that hard, but it's an additional task. And here maybe we will also have to have a shared storage, like the previous slides that I had before. So we still have the parts which is centralized, which is we depended on, right? And then those parts also we have to consider about making it also high availability, as in containerized technology. So the planning here, it's a bit different from your previous normal database, relation database on top of VM or on top of the machines, bare machines, bare metal machines. Okay.
Okay, for the second question, can the migration toolkit move data from Oracle to EDB with small downtime for critical application? Can the migration toolkit move data from Oracle to EDB with small downtime for critical application?
Yes, this is the most common questions about migration. So when we migrate the database, we are thinking about moving the whole data first, and then you move the delta later, right? So you just have the first migrations, and then you have the next migrations, which is the delta, if there are any deltas. Yes, migration toolkit can migrate from Oracle to EDB with a small downtime that really depends on your data size. So this is common for all databases. For the initial one, usually you have the whole database migrated. That's the part which will have a big time span. But not to worry, because we can do this in parallel. In some cases, we can do this in parallel. So you just have to dump the data and then migrate it to EDB. We have this in parallel running. And because of this parallel running, we have that delta, right? That delta part will be synchronized. We use the replications technology, the replication servers. It will synchronize until it reach the same amount of data. So that's how we minimize the small downtime for the critical applications. Okay.
Okay, another question from Sigit Pamungkas. What are the advantages of EDB from Oracle database? What are the advantages of EDB from Oracle database?
Obviously, Vivek mentioned this, the economic considerations, because especially in today's conditions, we want to save up, but we still want to have our enterprise database running. We don't have any limitations on data size, and we don't want to have limitations on performance once your data got really big. All right. So that's the basic benefits that you will get, obviously, from the beginning you implement it. And then the other things that the EDB also provides tools. These tools, again, are provided free, included in the subscriptions, the migrations, the HA, the backup and recovery tools, even the monitoring. And you will not have a vendor lock-in because this technology is based on open platform, right? And it's also available. It's well known. It's also available in several platforms in other applications, also in the public clouds. If you are subscriptions, if you're subscribing to AWS, Azure, or even IBM cloud, it has a Postgres EDB inside. Okay. Anything to add?
Okay, for the other questions, we will connect with you privately to address your queries due to lack of time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Stay safe.
Thank you, Sivda. Thank you for sending us this question. For the following sessions, you can maximize the chat box here at the Zoom platform so that our speakers can answer them in the Q&A portion of the webinar. So you can send your questions privately to the ITG host and co-host of this webinar. Before we proceed, we would like to remind you to answer our quick survey. You can access it through the QR code on your screens or by clicking the link on the Zoom chat box that can take you to the survey. We will be giving online vouchers for those who will be answering the survey. Once the solid plan is in, it's time to have a powerful execution. Our next session will tackle power implementation and how to implement EDB Postgres and the integrations available for it. Our next speaker manages various kinds of projects from different kinds of industries in Indonesia. He held a number of consulting, technical sales, and delivery. His proficiency in EDB has been demonstrated from several roles and support, from the development environment to performance tuning in production. Let us welcome the platform consultant at IT Group Indonesia, GP Sulaiman.
Hello, yeah, thank you, Werner. So let me share my screen first. I hope you guys see my screen. So, okay, in this session, we are going to talk about power implementation. So ITG has already helped various industry of starting from banking, finance, manufacturing, and then telco to help them to implement EDB from scratch or migrate it from Oracle. So let's get started to the first topic. So what are the options on how to implement EDB? We have three. The first one is we choose the architecture of the implementation. Whether you have multiple region, you have how big is your data, and then would you like have different reporting server, and then for the second, EDB have multiple ways to run installation and setup. If you have Windows, EDB have Windows installer. If you have Linux distro with Red Hat, you can use YUM and RPM. You also can use the apt-get for Ubuntu One. For the high availability, you might, if you have a critical application that need to serve your business without downtime, you need to consider to have the much high availability setup. we will show you how we can do the architecture for the high availability one. So before we design the implementation architecture, we need to see what is the consideration we are going to have. The first is database size. If you already have a huge database, you might want to partition your data, so it will increase your performance. If you moving from the Oracle into the EDB, you also might consider what is your data format right now, and does EDB have the compatibility for it? By looking at the query access concurrent, you also want to use the feature of the EDB, such as connection pooling using the PG bouncer or PG pool. And then for the query complexity, you can see how is the complexity of your query right now, so you can decide a better time execution. And then for the data availability, let's say you have application that will be used in multiple regions, so you might decide what kind of architecture that we can provide, so each region can provide their own service without jumping into another region. So this is the common architecture for the EDB. As you can see, the application in this diagram is connecting to the proxy. We have one master and two standby mode. The standby, we can add backup tools and then monitoring tools to help monitor the EDB cluster health. For the master, we in this implementation architecture, we can only have read-write mode. When the standby on the left and the right hand, you can only have the read mode only. The read mode can be used for the reporting to reduce the overhead of the master. So we are going to talk about the replication method. The first one is read-only replica. We have only one primary, which have the normal mode that you can use it for read and write. And then you can have multiple hot standby mode that it will only have the read-only mode. The read-only mode is only applicable for a reporting case. So for the second method of replication, we can have a multi-master replication. This way, we can have two active master, but in this case, the master should be in different region. So for example, the master one, it's in Singapore, and then master two in Jakarta. You need to have one XDB replication server to synchronize them. So the Singapore master one will only provide data for the Singapore region, and then the master two will only provide transaction for Jakarta, while the web server can access both of them. Moving into the next slide, we can see what is the installation requirements. We have multiple operating systems, starting from Windows, OS X server, Linux, Red Hat, that include CentOS and Debian, Ubuntu, and SUSE. The minimum hardware requirements is 1 gig of processor, 2 gig of RAM, 512 storage. Below, you can see example of installation environment with a minimum to achieve HA. You can have, you should have equal to that database for the master and the replica. You can see here for core and 16 gig of RAM and 1 terabyte storage for both master and standby. This to prevent performance discrepancy between them. And then you need one witness. This witness will provide the quorum quota, I mean, and it will prevent or avoid the split brain issue when it comes to you have a network issue in master, and then it just in the blink of eyes it comes back online. That is the case of the split brain issue. And the last one is PAM. PAM is for monitoring your database health cluster. So if you have a cloud service right now, AWS, Google Cloud, or Azure, you can have ADB as software as a service. You can activate it at any time. We are going to see what are integration available for the EDB. EDB provide multiple connection for multiple programming language. If you have Java, you can use JDBC. For example, another example is if you are migrating from Oracle, you can use the OCI one. So you can have very minimum changes in your coding to connect into the EDB database. This is the database connection example. So this is if you want to connect from a Java application to the EDB, you provide the string, you provide the user and the password, and then there you go. You can have it to select your data from it. Okay, next we have other feature to make developers' life easier. So this is the database requirement. So when you decide to use the EDB, you might want to see what is the limit of the database of EDB to provide EDB database service for my application. You can see the maximum data size, table size, row size, field size, row per table, column per table, index per table. EDB have a comparable limit with the Oracle or other database vendor. In terms of common database object names, PostgreSQL term or EDB is having a little bit different term. You can see if you have industry term, is it a table or index? In PostgreSQL term, it's a relation. For row, in PostgreSQL term is tuple. For column, in PostgreSQL term is attribute, and so on. So why do you need database HA? Of course, you want to safeguard against data loss. You want to protect your data, and you can have data availability to ensure that your application or your business is round the clock to continue to serve to your user. If you have the database in HA mode, you can have multiple database. So when one goes down, the other can take over to provide the service continuity. So the option is PostgreSQL as EDB provide various tools to implement HA and to scale it into on multiple server. You can have it as a cluster with a shared storage. The replication is using different tools such as streaming replication and master slave using Slowney. So we come to HA demo. Okay. First, we are going to see what is my environment of demo design diagram. You can see I have 3 nodes. Nodes 1 is for master. It's the VIP currently pointing into the master. Once it got failed over, it will move into the next standby node. If you have multiple standby node, you can make a priority list. So it will goes through the priority list first. I also have one node witness to provide the quorum quota. We can see the scenario first is plans failover scenario. This might be used when you need some maintenance on your master node. It is within a data center in a cluster. It will automated failover using a command. So this is the plan. The first, the node one is master, and then we promote it. We'll promote the node two as a master. It will the VIP will move into the secondary one, and it will promote as a master. It will provide the service for the application, and then the node one will we can use it for a maintenance. We can take it off from the cluster first. We do the maintenance inside it, and then when we finish the maintenance, the node one will rejoin the cluster and become a secondary. Okay, we'll see how it goes with the environment. So now you can see my screen of VM. I have 3 VM here, like I said in the design diagram. First, we are going to see the cluster first, the cluster host. This is the command to see the cluster by using EFM cluster status EFM. The first one is cluster status is EFM. EFM is my cluster name. We have first table. It describes witness, standby, and master here with each of its IP. The agent of the cluster failover is up for everyone. As you can see, in the witness, we cannot have a database. So the status is not available. For the VIP, all of it have the same VIP, but the master one is having the asterisk sign on it. So you can see the allow node list here, so that other than this IP cannot join into the cluster of the EDB. You can see the standby priority list. If you have multiple standby nodes, you can have multiple IP here. It will generate a list of priority. You can choose the priority too. And then for the below promote status table is the replication status. You can see if the amount of the wall replayed and wall received is similar between master and standby. That means the standby database is in sync with the master. It is safe to promote. So first, I'm going to show you that the database is currently replicated each other. So I'm going to connect to the local host database. We select one table from it. I'm going to connect to using the standby node too. Okay, you can see that both cable have the same value. I'm going to insert one value. To see if it's replicated. Okay, insert complete. We select again. You can see that it is updated in the master database. And then for the secondary database, it's also replicated. Okay, now we are going to see how it goes when we fail over using the planned scenario. So to fail it over, we use this command in the standby node. Okay, promote or switch over command is accepted that it will start the promoting procedure. We are going to see the cluster status again. Now you can see that the master is moved from the bottom to the second node. You can see that the asterisk sign is pointed into the other node. Okay, we move into next scenario. This is failover scenario will goes for unplanned failover scenario. So for example, you have hardware failure and then your master database service is going down. The standby node will provide the service after it promote itself automatically. It is within a data center, within a cluster, and automated failover. So the scenario is here. The node 1 is down, and then the node 2 will promote itself as a master. The VIP will point into the node 2. We need to rebuild the node 1 using the backup. And then when the node 1 we join back to this cluster, it will point the node 2 as a master. Okay, we go back to my screen of my VM. So you can see the master is 10.02.17 IP. I'm going to stop the database service on that node to see if it's going to fail over. I'm going to watch the status on the other node so we can see the process. First, we check the IP. Okay, that's not the master node. Okay, this one is the master node right now. Using this command, I'm shutting down the server. This is to simulate that my database of master is going down. in case of hardware failure or service failure, we can wait the status here at my other node. It will update it every 2 seconds. Let me see the status first. Should be, yeah, should be no server running. The connection already refused and you cannot connect into the master node. You will wait for the status change. Yes, the status of the master is idle and database is unknown. And then you can see that the standby node is promoting itself. Okay, we are going to refresh it more. Now you can see that the standby node is already master with the agent and the DB is up, while the previous master is going into idle, and then the DB service is unknown status. Okay, so that concludes the failover scenario. So next I have a use case about multiple instances failover. So in this diagram, we have a load balancer on the top, and then we have application, we have load balancer for the database, and then the database in EFM cluster with HA configuration. All of them using the streaming application and backup and recovery model. So let's say we have three database A, B, C with different color. You can see we put the each of instance in different node. But we can use all of the nodes to serve the application. The VIP will also only point into master in each of database. You can see for the blue color one, the VIP is pointing into the left hand side. And then for the orange one is middle. The green one is on the right side. For the example, this three node in the left is on DC, and then for the three node on the right is NDR. We are going to see if one database instance going down, what will be free, what is the behavior when it goes failover. So as you can see in this diagram, it will move into next standby node. So the VIB will point it into the second node. It will go to the next node if the database instance on that previous node is fail over to. Once there are no nodes in data center, it will move into the DR side one, and it's go on. Okay, now we are going to talk about EDB on container. So why container? Of course, it's portability. You can move it around between laptop, between Kubernetes platform or Windows, Linux. It doesn't matter. It will start its service in seconds. HA. So EDB has already provided an HA feature for its container service. So you don't need to worry about how am I going to have a HA in terms of database layer. To reduce the complexity, you can manage it very well using the container, since the best workload performance, you can move it from on-premise and the cloud. Okay, so this is when you deploy the EDB container inside the container platform. Let's say you have Kubernetes or Red Hat OpenShift or Google Kubernetes engine. You can have application inside or outside the Kubernetes cluster, while the EDB Postgres will provide the automated failover in database layer, backup and restore, monitoring, also with scaling. So it will have a natively supported by EDB. So okay, next we are going to see how to install the EDB Postgres container on a VM. We install the Docker first. We use the Docker service for using the container. We need to get your EDB login. You can register at the enterprisedb.com website. You can have a free trial, and then you download the EDB container image. And then you can configure using one single command, and then you can start the database. After that, you can connect using PSQL or pgadmin, and then you are good to go. So I'm going to show you how to run the container. Okay, so this is the screen of my VM. So first, we are going to install Docker. Since I use CentOS Red Hat OS, to install the Docker, you just run the yum install Docker. Since I already installed the Docker, so we will paste it. We download the image from the EDB repository. I already have it to keep it short because it's quite large image, 653 megabyte. After that, we can start to run the EDB Docker container. Okay, let me copy first. So this is the command to run the Docker container for the EDB. First, we have parameter to give it a name. We include the parameter for the container, the database name, PG port, database user, enterprise DB password. We accept EULA, and then PG data path location. We give it a host name, and then we give persistent volume for the database. So when it goes down, it doesn't get removed. We can restart it again. We put the port. We put the container image. We can just press enter and run it. You can see it is already up in just a second. You can try to connect to it. The password is the one that we provide before in the single line command. There you go. We already have database up and running. We can start to use it. Okay, I think that concludes my session. I will get back to Bernard. Hey, Bernard.
Thank you so much, GP. So before we proceed, let us address some of the questions that we have gathered from the participants. So I have here one question from Akbar Saldi. Why should we use LB in HA process when we already use VIP in EFM process? Is there any difference in purpose? I repeat. So why should we use LB in HA process and when we already use VIP in EFM process? Is there any difference in purpose?
So yeah, when you use another LB when you already have VIP, it's for the reporting purpose. So when you have a different purpose, transaction and reporting, you can have reporting in the load balancer one.
Okay, thank you. For another question, can you use container images to build multiple microservices database? Can you use container images to build multiple microservice database?
So yes, you can include it in your pipeline if you're already using the DevOps flow. You can customize it as much as you can. Also, EDB have their failover and replication built in containers, so to provide HA.
Okay, no more questions. So for our next and final session, you can still send in your question. So feel free to maximize the chat here in the Zoom platform so that our speakers can answer them later at the Q&A portion. So you can send your questions privately to the ITG host and co-host for this webinar. Also, please don't forget to answer our quick survey that you can access on the screen by scanning the QR code or by clicking on the link in the chat box here at Zoom. I know that you are waiting for this part, so before we proceed to our third and final session, let us draw our first raffle who will win a Xiaomi Amazfit GTS watch. So there will be two winners, one winner from the conference participant from the Philippines and one from Indonesia. So put your attention on your screen as we draw the winner. So let us first draw our winner for Indonesia. So let's spin the wheel. Okay, congratulations, Risnanta Wildan Sambodo. Okay, let us draw our winner from PH. Congratulations, Lara Marie De Leon. So we will be sending you a private message on how you can claim your prizes. So we still have two winners for our grand draw later, so stay tuned. So fasten your seatbelts because we are taking the last turn of our final session. So we have already gone through the importance of planning and implementation. Now we will see the importance of managing and operating your enterprise DB Postgres. So our last speaker currently works with his fellow technology experts in the implementation and support of ITG's very first Postgres project. His proficiency in EDB solutions has given him the opportunity to work closely with clients, which made him the ITG's point person for database management. He is continuously expanding his ability in database management to deliver valuable customer experience every step of the way, and is recently certified by Enterprise DB. So let us give a warm welcome to one of the pre-sales consultants at IT Group Inc., Mr. Robbie Santiago.
Thank you, Berna, for that great introduction. Good morning, everyone. I am Robbie Santiago once again, a pre-sales consultant from IT Group. Share my screen. I assume you are seeing my screen right now. So let me start by saying that we all know very well that being a database administrator comes with tedious day-to-day activities in managing different Postgres SQL databases across different clusters, different environments, and with different locations. So in this session, I will introduce to you a Supercharge tool that will give the advantage to our DBAs in performing their day-to-day task at ease. Well, with all that said, let me give you Postgres Enterprise Manager, or PEM. So this is the only tool that combines monitoring, alerting, and tuning of multiple open sources or EDB Postgres Advanced Servers clusters, premise or your premise in a single web graphical interface. So you can manage everything from one GUI. You can create tables, you could store procedures, you could do queries, you can manage your schemas, and a lot more with PEM. You could also optimize your database performance in locating poorly running SQL code and enhance it. And you also could monitor multiple scenarios with our custom dashboards that can collect multiple data from multiple sources. So with this said, you could reduce your administrative burden by accomplishing multitasks and routine tasks such as backups and other DBA works. So as you can see on the screen, the PEM architecture is quite simple. You only need a web client or a PEM and connect your PostgreSQL community version or your enterprise edition Postgres. That's the advanced server. And you can already display charts, dashboards, and interact with other databases servers using your preferred web browser. So this is perfectly suited for managing and monitoring and even tuning your large numbers of Postgres in multiple locations. So what are the core features of PEM or Postgres Enterprise Manager? So PEM has a powerful monitoring function that can collect statistics from your critical operating systems and your databases. It has 200 plus predefined alerts. It is cost through email via SMTP or SNMP. It has a predefined custom at a glance global dashboards that you could use to monitor your databases or your servers. And it can also monitor your replication on your master and your standby or your slave. It also have a powerful management function that lets you do CRUD operations on all databases objects. So you can create, you can read, you can update, you can delete on your database objects using PEM. You could do bulk operations across multiple servers. You could also, PEM also have this capacity manager tool for planning and forecasting for further enhancing your environment. It also has customizable GUI charts and tables and graphs for the management capability of PEM. And lastly, the tuning capability of PEM is quite, we're very proud of. For example, we have this SQL profiler, and along with SQL profiler is our index advisor tool that will give you a leverage on locating inefficient or long-running queries that is affecting your database performance. So SQL profiler helps you do that, and maybe you could optimize that that code in performing better. And also with that comes index advisor. So index advisor suggests and can create indexes for queries to further enhance its speed. So I will be showing this to you in a little while during the demo. And also we have the Postgres expert. Your configuration on your PostgreSQL conf file or the configuration file. So Postgres experts will suggest variables in your Postgres SQL configuration that needs to be changed to further enhance the speed of your database. So it only suggests, it won't write on the file. So if you want to automatically write the file or write the variable in your configuration file, we have also the tuning wizard for machine utilization and load profile. So these things will be shown to you during the demo in a while. So without further ado, let's now go to the PEM demo. So what do we need to do? We just need to supply the PEM URL on your preferred web browser, and then supply the right credentials in order for you to log in. So right now, I'm logging in on my PEM web server, and the first window that will appear or will show is the global window or the global overview dashboard, wherein you could see the Postgres Enterprise Manager host, what version is it running, the number of threads, the processes running, and the utilization of CPU, memory, and even the disk utilization will be shown here. The status of the server, what database version it is currently using, and all the alerts. So along with the, you could see the menus here. So you have file, object, management, so wherein you could do a lot of management tasks. Even you could customize your dashboard here. The tools menu, wherein you could run the SQL for filer and the index advisor and the help. Okay. So on the left side of this console, you could see the object browser. This is where you could see the list of servers that has been registered already on PEM. So on this demo, I have already registered one database, one server, which is the actual PEM server that has a databases in it. So you could just scroll down or go down to the menu to see what are the databases residing in my server. But let's say, for example, you need to establish a group for your UAT or your prod. You just click your PEM server directory, then go to object or right click with PEM server directory and then just select create and then group. So you supply the group name, let's say for example UAT, and then click save. So that's how you can create a group in our object browser. So in this group, let me add one server. So again, you just need to right click, go to create, and then now let's select server. So let's supply the name for this server. Let's say, for example, I'm gonna use ITG demo. Then go to connections tab. Supply the IP address. So the IP address is already here, but we need to change the port number because I am using 5444 port, the maintenance DB, and then the username and password. So in advanced tab, you could also set SSL here if you prepare SSL connection. So in this case, let's just disable this. If you have the keys, the root certificate, you could provide it here. You could also do SSH tunnel here. So if you want to automatically connect this server, you just need to supply all these parameters here. And then in advance, the one thing that you need to remember is to provide the service ID for the PostgreSQL. So in my case, I'm using version 11. So there you go. That's the service ID. And then let's count to the newly created server, to the server, what I mean. So again, let's just disable SSL for the demo. So you need to just supply the host IP, the port number again, the database, the service database, the username, and then the password. And then if you are done with all the variables here, you just click save. And then the server is already added on the group UAT. So I have shown in a little while, I have shown a while ago how to browse objects here on your object browser. So again, I'll repeat, if you want to view your databases, you just click the selections tab, and then you could see already the running databases located on my ITG demo server. So let's connect one server. It's just easy, just right click on it. You could view the schemas here on your database. Let's say, for example, I want to view the EDB user schema. So it's just a click of a mouse and then the selection will go down. Let's select a table. Let's see. So here I want to view the data inside the departments table. So what you need to do is just right click on departments table, then view, edit data. You could filter it by the first 100, last 100 or rows. For this demo, let's just select first 100 rows. Okay, so now you could see what is inside the departments table. So here on this window, the output is shown. If the explain will be displayed, and then the messages here. So it says it's successfully run, and if there's a notification, it will be shown here on the query tool. Okay. Now let's create some users on your database. So what you need to do is just go to your server again, then locate the login and group roles, right click, select create, and then group or login role. So for this demo, I'll be using ITG ADM for IT admin. Okay, then the definition, you could set the password here. So I'll just use ITG. And if you want the account to be expired in a certain date, so you could supply this, the date and the time for the expiration. And then you could also provide connection limit. So you could also set privileges using PEM. So if you want the newly created user to be a super user, you just click yes and can log in. So if you want this user to be a member of a certain role, you just select here. So there will be selections here. So for this demo, let's just leave it blank. You could also set parameters here and also provide security levels. So let's say, for example, and on the next tab, you would, so the password is not. Okay, let's just use the create roles and create databases. All right, so as you can see, if you click SQL tab, you would know the exact code that will be triggered when you click save. So this is the SQL script that will be run. So I'll just click save. And there you go. The ITG ADM is already listed on the login and group roles. Now let's create a database in this ITG demo server. So what you can do is just you could create and then database. So let's say, for example, our company has a new application that will handle our HR activities. So I'll just name this as ITG HR with the owner of Enterprise DB, or for this testing, let's just use the ITG admin. Okay. Give the definition. So you could set the encoding here. If there's a template that you need to add, or use a table space here, so you could select it here. So for this demo, let's just leave this as the default. Then the security. So you could grant users here to access the will be created database. So let's say, for example, I want to add EDB user. that has all the privileges on this database is, of course, the super user. So again, you could set parameters here, and then in advance, you could create schema restrictions if there are list of restrictions here. And again, on the SQL tab, you would see the corresponding SQL code that will be triggered when I click save. So let's just go and save this. Now you could see the ITGHR database is already here. So after creating the database, let's create schemas for this database. I don't want to use the public schema, so I will create one with the name of the user or the owner. All right. So again, if you want to provide security for other users, you could do it here and set the default privileges if there are none, or if you want to add sequences, tables, functions, privileges here, you could do it here. And then go to SQL again to see the corresponding code that will be triggered, and then just click save. So now you could see the ITG ADM schema is already listed. So after that, I want to add tables in this schema because right now there are no tables here. So I will just create the table. Again, you just right click, go to create, then table. Okay. Let's provide the table name, HR. The owner is, again, ITG ADM. Okay, under schema, ITG ADM. And then we can now provide the column name. Example, employee name. And you could provide also the data type here. So in this demo, I'll just use the character varying type. You could select if it's not null or if it's this column is the primary key. So it's your option to do that. Okay, so let me add one more column. Let's say, for example, employee ID with a numeric value, numeric data type. Okay, let's add one more. Let's say, for example, employee address. And then character varying again. And one more, say for example, SSS ID. And character varying again. All right. So now we have set our columns. Again, there are advanced features here that you need that supposedly will give benefit to your table. So if you want to add RLS policy, you could trigger it here. The like relations here. You can even set constraints here if you want to add primary key or a foreign key here. But with this particular demo, let's just leave this as default. You could also set partitions here if you want to partition your table and set parameters here. So on this tab, let's just use the auto vacuum enabled. So the table will have the auto vacuum enabled. And then the security, again, if you want to add the database, is the tab that you need to go to. And then again, if you go to the SQL tab, you will see the corresponding code that will be run. So if I click save, now the table HR is been created. So of course, there are no data here yet, but let's just see if the columns are there. Okay, so as you can see, there is the employee name, the employee ID, the employee address, and the ID of their social security system is already there. All right, now let's go to what I'm saying, what I have said a while ago during the presentation. For this demo or for the SQL profiler demo, I will be using the other server that it's already been registered here. So under this, and then after selecting the EDB store database, you can go to tools, select server, and then go to SQL profiler. And let's create a trace for this one, for this database. So let's just say demo trace 1. Let's filter the user as EDB user, which is the owner of the database. And then let's just select the EDB store database. So you could set the maximum trace file size here. And then you could set it to run now or maybe on a later time. So if you select to run it on a different time, you need to provide the schedule here. So on the schedule, you could indicate the start time, the end time, or if the schedule be repeated. And you could also do periodic job or a week in a month, or how many months should this job will run, and then the times, the number of hours and minutes, you could provide it here. Okay, so for this demo, let's just use the default one, and I will run it now. So the trace is created. So right now there are no running queries. So let me go to my backend and do some queries. I've already prepared some scripts here, some commands here. Okay. Okay, let's just use those 3 queries. So after I issue the query, I'll just click refresh, and then you can see now the queries took 5 milliseconds to run. So what we can do here is to analyze it here by right-clicking at it. So you can see the script here or the query command. Click close, then go to Index Advisor. This is the tool that I mentioned a while ago that helps you create or suggest an index for this query. So this is the icon over here. So you just click Index Advisor, then provide the username, password of EDB user. There you go. So you see, it is suggesting to create an index on the query. So let's see if we create the index and what will happen. So I'll just click OK. So let me rerun the query on my back end. All right. Then I will refresh this one. And let's check okay, as you can see, from 5 milliseconds, it trimmed down to just 1.12 milliseconds. So there you go. The script that you had run had been optimized using SQL profiler and the index advisor. Now, let's go down deeper on the configuration of your database. Let's say, for example, I want to tune my Postgres Enterprise Manager server here already registered. I had mentioned a while ago that we have Postgres expert to provide you with suggestions on what variables that needs to be changed on your database server. So when you click Postgres expert, let me repeat that if you didn't get where I go, where I went. So you just click the server, go to management, and then you will see the Postgres expert here. You just click Postgres expert, and then the welcome window will pop up. Just click next. And then on the number 2 window, you will see the rules that will be triggered when you do the analyzing of your database. So there are configuration, schema, security expert rules that will be triggered. So let's just select every one of them. So here are the details that will be checked for you by PEM. So just click next and then select the database that you want to be analyzed. So let's say I want to analyze the PEM server. Just click next. So you have the option to download the report via HTML, or you could just view the report now. For this session, let's just view the report now. So you just click finish. So there you go. PEM, return the trace. It has 31 rules that check with 2 high alerts, 3 medium alerts, and low alerts, 1 low alert. So let's go deeper with the alerts. So as you can see, here are the rules that had the alerts on it or in it. So we have the configuration check why PEM says check data and transaction log on same drive has a high severity. So it will give you an explanation here. So of course, on a production setup, we want to segregate the transaction logs from our data directory. So it's suggesting to avoid using the same storage for the storage device for the data directory and transaction logs. Of course, this is pertaining to a downtime. So you could, if you are sharing one disk, and all the data will be lost. So if you have segregate your transaction log on a different directory, so the X logs or the wall logs are kept and safe. Okay, another one is the check trust authentication is disabled on security expert is high. So let's see why. Okay, so I have used the trust method on my connectivity or my connection protocol or via HBA on my server. So it's just suggesting that avoid using trust and authentication on unsecured network. So maybe you could set your parameters to MD5 or password for to increase the security level of your servers. So this is the Postgres expert. So it only suggests, it won't write directly to your Postgres SQL configuration file or your configuration file. So if you want to automate this or to automatically write this on your configuration file, you need to select the tuning wizard. So again, you go to management, go down to tuning wizard, and a new window will appear. So it's others, and then select the servers that you need to analyze again. So let's use the same server. So now you have to define the machine utilization your server is currently being utilized. So for my server, I'll just click dedicated and then the workload. If it's a data warehousing database or it's a mixed database, so I'll just use the transactional, the OLTP, then click next. So now you could see what will be the parameters that will be changed on your selected server. So in my case, the max wall size, the minimum wall size, and random page cost and wall buffers are all okay. So the checkboxes will be the ones that will be changed. So if you click next, so if you want to schedule the change on a different time, you could set it here. Or if you want to generate a report that will show you the suggestion of tuning wizard, it will just show you a report. But in my case, I want to write it already to my configuration file. So I will select configure now and then finish. On the lower part of the screen, it says saved successfully. So going back to the back end, let me just show you what will happen to your configuration file. Okay, so there you go. You could see the highlighted one. The value for work mem was changed by Postgres Enterprise. So we now know that that PEM had already changed your configuration file and that the server is already tuned. Okay. So for capacity managing, let's go again to this server and click management, then go to capacity manager. So this is where we could select metrics and servers that you want to analyze for capacity planning. Let's say, for example, I want to select okay. Sorry for that. Let me do it once again. So give me a couple of minutes. Gotta reload by web client. It's taking too long. I don't know what happened here. Okay, I'm facing connectivity issues right now. I'm sorry for that. I think my provider had disappoint me once again. Let me try to just change providers. Please don't. Can you still see my screen? Sorry.
Yes, Robbie.
We can see.
Swap memory. And the size. So I have exceeded one. Okay, for this demo, let's just click the root and the home directory to be checked. Okay. And the home. Okay. Now we need to select a start time. So let's just select start time and end time. So provide the date that you want to analyze or want to run the scan. Say, for example, I want to run it last Monday until this Monday. Okay. And just click generate and it will show you the report here. So these are the reports that you can see that on October 21, my block reads are only 5M. And on October 25, it spikes up and then went down again after the end of the day. So this will give you a good view on when to increase or when to purchase additional RAM, additional disk for your database server. So Capacity Manager helps you with that, with the forecasting and usage of your. Okay, after this one, let me just go to the dashboard frame. So in the dashboards, aside from the global overview, you could select here the alerts that had been generated on your databases. So this is so easy. You just need to go to the dashboard home and then select here what needs to be shown on your dashboard, or if you want, you could go directly to the EDB store database and then select the database that you need to be shown on your dashboard. As you can see, EDB store's database is being shown on the dashboard. So you could see the object size here, the connection overview. So right now there are no connections, so it's 100% available. And the IO of your database, the row activity as well, the commits and rollbacks as well, and the top tables that are being utilized, it will be shown on your dashboard. So this is how easy and how helpful PEM Manager or the Postgres Enterprise Manager can help our DBAs in their day-to-day activities, in monitoring, in managing, in tuning your DB clusters running on your environment. So PEM can monitor again not only enterprise grade level databases, not only EDB advanced server, but it can also monitor your community versions of your PostgreSQL. So this will be a very, very big boost in your performance as DBA, and this tool will give you enough time to do other administrative tasks that is not required on databases. So this will give you a much better view of what you are managing and what you are having in your environment. So again, thank you for listening and for lending me your ears and eyes on this demo in this session. That's all for me. Thank you once again, and everybody keep safe.
So much, Robbie, for wrapping up this mini conference. So I'm sure everyone has a lot of takeaways from our sessions. So before we get to the part you have been waiting for, let us add the last few questions from our participants. So I have here 2 questions. So for question 1, since PEM is able to associate the EFM and see the EFM cluster, can we also do the failover automatically without manual intervention using PEM? Since PEM is able to associate the EFM and see the EFM cluster, can we also do the failover automatically without manual intervention using PEM?
Thank you, Berna. Yes, we could also do a failover using PEM. You just need to go to management and then click replace cluster master. So the standby, the enrolled standby, the priority standby will take over the role of master. So you will have a complete failover scenario using PEM.
For the next question, is PEM capable of managing all PostgreSQL edition since there is an enterprise and community edition of it? So is PEM capable of managing all PostgreSQL editions since there is an enterprise and community edition of it?
I think I have mentioned that during the slide. Yes, we support community and enterprise grade PostgreSQL databases. So if you're running community versions in your environment and you have subscription from EDB, so we could also monitor both of those of your environments, whether it's community or enterprise grade.
Okay, thank you, Robbie. So that was a very insightful 3-part session. So I know you have been waiting for this. 2 of you will be taking home our grand raffle prize, the Mi Air Purifier. So you can now put your attention on your screens as we draw the winner. So let us first draw our winner from Indonesia. Congratulations. Now let us draw our winner for the Philippines.
Robbie Santiago, yay!
Congratulations to our winners. So we will be sending you a private message on how you can claim your prize. So don't forget to answer our short survey to get an online voucher from us. Scan the QR code on your screens or click the link on the Zoom chat box. We would like to thank you for joining us today. If you want to have a deep dive session to discover more about Enterprise DB, you can reach out to our Regional Technology Manager for Database Management Solution, Ryan Ting, and our pre-sales consultant, Robbie Santiago, in our Philippine headquarters. You can also reach out to Viv Dahari, the head of Enterprise Solutions, and GP Sulaiman, the platform consultant in our Indonesia headquarters. You can visit our social media pages listed on your screens. You can also check our website www.itgroupinc.asia or send us an email at info@itgroupinc.asia. This ends our mini conference. It was a pleasure to have you all with us today, and we'll look forward to seeing all of you again soon. Have a great week ahead.